Oh. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Yes, the bank robber here. I'm going to rob my balance. Sorry, my bank balance. And while I'm stealing money out of my own bank account, there is one thing I won't be going and stealing, unlike a lot of Labour councillors or a lot of these G-gang people. And that is people's innocence. Because that's what I want to talk about as far as last night's stream is concerned. I'm doing this now because I thought the other two takes were piss poor on my part. And some of the topics I mentioned in the first one weren't even bloody covered in the live stream. But this is basically to set the record straight as far as what I talked about is concerned. So, what I talked about yesterday was the fact that now we can clearly see as crystal why the Nonce Party, the Labour Party, or maybe I was right first time, decided not to have a general inquiry. Because it turns out in the past there was 52 Labour MPs, or Nonce MPs, who were basically caught doing the most depraved things to little children, ranging from giving them money to pay for S-acts, or child abuse, or manufacturing films of child abuse, to paying a child for S, or in one person's case, having as many as 90,000 plus images of CP. I believe it was either on a memory stick or on their computer or something, but over 90,000. You have to be one sick, demented fuck to do that. But despite all those things that I've mentioned, that's not even the worst of it for me, quite frankly. I know what you're thinking. What could be worse than taking advantage of children? What could be worse than basically holding pictures of children doing the most innocence-destroying things, or being subjected to so much vile abuse? Well, there are two things that particularly strike me right here. And you know what they are? One of these subhuman scumbags decided it wasn't enough to just go for regular children. One of these MPs decided to target homeless children. Literally the most vulnerable people. Children who are homeless. It takes a very special kind of demented motherfucker to want to do that. To viciously homeless kids. And if that's not enough, there's even a story regarding one of these 52 MPs who did all these horrible things, maybe not on homeless people, but it turns out the man doing this had autoimmunity, stroke number one, autoimmunity dysfunction or deficiency syndrome, aka AIDS. And I think I need some AIDS just to get out of this habit of having strokes. Anyway, this man had AIDS, and he's doing those horrific things to these kids. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. And I'll tell you now, it feels a lot different when I've got this fucking thing on. So not only was this MP going out of his way to rob people of their innocence, he was basically robbing them of their lives. Because they effectively would die on the back of AIDS if they contracted it. It's sickening, I know. It is probably, I'd argue, the most reprehensible thing you could do as a nonce. To not only take away their innocence, but to take their lives as well, through agony and suffering. That was one of the things I talked about yesterday. And frankly, even today, I still feel a great deal of anger towards what's happened there. Unfortunately, something I'll be talking about later in tonight's stream is the fact that basically this country is far too apathetic to take any action, quite frankly. And it was something that Paul Thorpe had said to me directly while I was on his show. He's right. We are far too apathetic. We see a story, we move on, thinking that we can't do anything about it. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, we can do something about it if we've got the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to be able to make the hard decisions. We must stop looking for people to take action for us. We must be the ones to take action here. But the other thing that I covered in yesterday's stream was the Muslim convert Andrew Tate. And the way I look at this guy is basically he has tried to put out a speech that he's trying to make himself a politician and basically try to become the Prime Minister of England. Well, quite frankly, he has about as much chance of becoming the Prime Minister as I have of winning the next decathlon. And the man is about as fitting for the role as I am fitting for being a ballerina. I mean, take a look at me. I don't think you need to imagine me in a pink tutu. That would get me arrested for indecent exposure, quite frankly. And if I jump in the air, I'm going to end up causing a fucking 4.6 earthquake. Don't believe me? Watch this! Fuck me. Still shaking. Anyway, that point I'm trying to make, though, is he's not suitable for Prime Minister. I would sooner give my rations and all that shit to the enemy than give it to Andrew Tate. I have not seen Andrew Tate denounce the teachings of Islam, quite frankly. Therefore, it stands to reason why I'm suspicious of him. I mean, think about it. There are claims that this man is misogynistic, and bear in mind, Islam is not exactly kind towards women. They treat them as second-class citizens. As well as gay people, if they're caught buckering one another, they get thrown off the top of a building or they get stoned to death. And in Islam as well, the Quran teaches them that it is perfectly okay to beat your wife. This is the wonderful religion of peace they keep bleating on about. Another phrase slave for gramophone minds. The next thing you know, he'll be joining the Nonce Party, aka Labour, to try and be Prime Minister, since they already know, or we already know rather, who Keir the traitor Starmer is already prioritising, that of the so-called religion of peace. And on a final note to end this video, on top of mentioning the 52 Labour MPs as a general number, I even went on to go and quote each and stroke number 2, every Labour councillor and MP that basically went on to commit these heinous acts and describe exactly what these people have done. Name and shame. All 52 of them. 53 if you count Ivor Kaplan, who was caught by PDF hunters basically in a sting where allegedly this man was planning to meet an underage boy. My clava's doing a little bit too good a job at keeping me warm. Anyway, he was caught allegedly trying to meet an underage boy to go and see Stephen, whoever the fuck Stephen is. Well, I can tell you, for Steve's not a jolly good fellow. That much I can assure you free of charge. Fuck me, I'm being attacked by the wildlife now. Anyway, he shouldn't even be anywhere near an underage child if this is what he's done. It's still allegedly, because obviously we know the boundaries of the law here. Unlike Axel child murdering Radakabana, who we know unequivocally is guilty of stabbing 3 girls to death, God rest their souls, and injuring multiple others, I cannot confirm what this man is was going to do to this underage boy if he was going to meet him, quite frankly. But I can tell you one thing, all this nonsense, pun intended, needs to stop. And now, more and more Labour MPs are coming out saying they need a general open inquiry about these G-gangs, because they clearly understand that Keir the traitor Starmer does not want to give these children or other people any justice. And I mentioned how Keir the traitor Starmer now is indubitably in a checkmate position, quite frankly. Think about it. Between the G-gangs, between the Southport cover-up, between putting political prisoners behind bars for commenting on Southport, which then they turned out to be right, Keir the traitor Starmer is up to his eyeballs in shit right now. I guess you could say this is a fecal matter of political life and death for Keir the traitor Starmer. Whichever way you slice it, this whole thing stinks of corruption. This whole thing stinks of evil. And frankly, we need to do all we can now, proactively, to take out the trash, metaphorically speaking. Because at the end of the day, there is no place for these nonces and child predators. There is no place in this country, or any for that matter, not even in a cell, where these predators belong. The only thing these people should be getting is either the snip or the chop, quite frankly, if you know what I mean. And I can tell you, it's not a nice chop of sirloin. No, it's more like a chop of the old block. I really do want to see this inquiry opened, because it will bring out all of the evils and the injustices of this nonce party. And it will give us the absolute strongest chance of banishing this stroke number 3, this party, from existence. Frankly, these people do need to be removed from existence. Farty. Oh, God. But no, they do need to be removed entirely. I'm not just talking about out of office and out of power. I'm talking out of existence entirely. They have to go. There is no shot the Labour Party, the nonce party, can be electable after this one. The way I look at it, the nonce party have dug themselves a massive hole. Keir the traitor Starmer leading the charge. And now they're stuck in it with no way to get out.